Stephen A. Smith, we discussed this on the show, and we're not discussing how you should discipline a child, but we are talking about Roger Goodell, the discipline in which he handed down to Adrian Peterson. What are your reaction to the suspension?
Well, I think it was excessive. I completely agree with Adrian Peterson's attorney, Mr. Rusty Hardin, particularly when he said to Roger Goodell, "Who the hell do you think you are?" I stand by those kind of assertions. I stand by those kind of questions and the manner in which it was vehemently expressed by Mr. Hardin, because I think it was appropriate in this particular situation. We all understand that Adrian Peterson is no martyr. We all understand that he was incredibly wrong and egregious. We also understand that again, when we saw those marks in that child, we all considered it abuse. We talked about it on this show ad nauseum. That, to me, is a separate issue in this respect. Obviously, he went on the commissioner's list. He was being paid at the time, of course, but he wasn't allowed to play football. Well, now that the decision has been made and the plea deal was reached or what have you, I personally would not have had any problem whatsoever with Commissioner Roger Goodell confiscating the remaining $4.1 million of Adrian Peterson's salary, or fining him $5 million or what have you. But the games missed are the games missed. And that obviously, to me, should be enough. The fact that this is extended to an entire season, to me, it reeks of a PR move on the part of the NFL, who know that they performed a dereliction of duty for so many years as it pertained to a bevy of issues affecting its league, and their willingness to address it. Had they addressed these things and these kind of stipulations or what have you had been on the books already, then I would be more sympathetic. If this was something that Roger Goodell handed down in the aftermath of instituting a new disciplinary policy as it pertained to domestic violence and other things, child abuse in this particular case, and then something like this had happened, I would have no problem with it. But the fact that these kind of things were not being addressed by the NFL for so long, and then public sentiment swelled to such astronomical proportions that the NFL had no choice but to get off its back, figuratively speaking, get up and address these issues with the diligence it deserved in the first place. One would argue a lot of these problems would have been alleviated quite a long time ago. Again, we're not trying to absolve Adrian Peterson from anything. The man was wrong. What I saw in terms of those marks on that child was definitely abuse, but he's missed his share of games. And if you find him $4 to $5 million, considering all that has already transpired, I think that would have been incredibly sufficient. The fact that the NFL decided to add to it by suspending him for the year, or keeping him off the field, rather, for the year, I think just reeks of a PR move trying to appease a bunch of folks out there. I think it's disingenuous. I think it's hypocritical. I think it's excessive. And ultimately, I think it's wrong, period.
I hear everything you just said. And obviously, I also think Adrian Peterson was very wrong. He took it way, way too far. So let's start from that premise. Now, were you surprised at all at Roger Goodell's reaction and ruling yesterday? Were you surprised by it?
Some of the things I just a little bit skipped from. It came across it was a paternal. It was almost, the letter was paternalistic, to say the least.
It was like a lecture.
Yeah, it was like a lecture, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. Proper care of your kids.
Okay.
Whoa,
all right.
whoa.
Fine. It was completely and utterly predictable, coming from a commissioner who I think we would agree has been under extreme fire to the point that his job has been on the line. I agree with Rusty Hardin that now Adrian Peterson is being made a scapegoat because of Roger Goodell's past failings. We all know all too well when it comes to domestic violence. But Stephen A. Smith, help me out here. If the commissioner is under fire, his credibility has been called into question and is being, as we speak, investigated. Wouldn't you predict that he would drop the hammer as hard as he is allowed to drop it? And by the way, let's go back to this. Last collective bargaining, the players in the 11th hour conceded absolute authority when it comes to discipline to Roger Goodell. So he still has the ability to drop the hammer, and he dropped it as hard as he could drop it, short of a lifetime ban for Adrian Peterson. Why did he do that? Because he knew full well going in that the NFLPA will now challenge. They will appeal. And if they win some right to get a specific number of games that Adrian Peterson will be docked, game checks and games, then it will be their fault. The NFL just doesn't, Roger Goodell can't appear to be at fault at all here. He can't appear to concede at all, to be at all lenient when it comes to the punishment of an Adrian Peterson who we all agree whipped his child with a switch beyond what is reasonable for any parent to whip their child. So to me, he's now putting it in the hand. This is an image game, and he has now placed the penalty in the hands of the NFL Players Association. So now they will appeal, and if they win some concession here, that he will be suspended for whatever it is, I don't know what it is, 9, 10 games, and he will lose 6 game checks. Well, then Roger Goodell can say, I tried. I tried to punish him as harshly as I could punish him. America, did you see what I just did? Is it scapegoating? Sure it is. But it was a predictable play on the part of the commissioner.